Welcome to the Adaptation Fund's Enhanced Direct Access Training. The training is comprised of 3 elements. First, an overview of Enhanced Direct Access, EDA. Second, examples and inspiration of EDA. And third, access to resources to support further EDA development. The full training takes 15 minutes to complete. You can pause at any time to apply part of the training or take a break and return at your leisure. The aim of the training is to support the preparation and development of high-quality EDA grant proposals. The objectives of the training are to develop a deeper understanding of EDA, support uptake of EDA as a project delivery mechanism, and understand the necessary resources and information needed for an EDA proposal. Section 1. An Introduction to EDA. Traditionally, climate finance has flowed to large institutions and can be distanced from the most vulnerable communities. Locally led adaptation, LLA, was a response to make climate finance directly accessible to vulnerable communities, thus empowering them to decide on how climate finance is used to build their adaptive capacity. The guiding principles of LLA, developed in 2020 and endorsed by the Adaptation Fund, along with more than 70 other institutions, are to devolve decision-making, address structural inequalities, provide access, patient and predictable funding, invest in local capabilities, build a robust understanding of climate risk and uncertainty, offer flexible programming and learning, ensure transparency and accountability, and create collaborative action and investment. The Adaptation Fund first developed direct access, DA, to climate finance through the use of national implementing entities. Through DA, accredited NIEs can access finance and manage all aspects of climate adaptation and resilience projects, from design through implementation to monitoring and evaluation. Enhanced Direct Access, EDA, builds on this success and enables local actors to be actively involved in defining, prioritizing, designing, monitoring, and evaluating adaptation action at all levels to ensure that it is most effective. EDA is a finance modality of LLA pioneered by the Adaptation Fund to empower countries at the national and subnational level to support local projects and stakeholders through the transfer of funds directly to local actors. What is EDA? Under EDA modalities, the NIE develops a project program and internal governance structures for deciding how funds will be allocated. Once approved by the Adaptation Fund, the screening, review, and selection of projects is done at the national and subnational level with strong stakeholder engagement in the decision-making on proposed resilience initiatives and their financing. Execution responsibility is passed to the local communities to meaningfully build capacity to manage sub-projects. The NIE retains responsibility of developing, monitoring, and reporting on the project. It is important to keep communities engaged throughout the project lifecycle to ensure local actors are ready to develop their actions when funds arrive, and also to capacity build through monitoring and knowledge sharing for higher resilience and adaptive capacity. An example of this collaborative action comes from the Micronesia Conservation Trust, who carried out EDA as part of one of their existing large projects. They highlighted stakeholder management as key to the process and developed their EDA actions by first asking local communities what they needed. EDA does not have a singular format and should be developed with local stakeholders to best meet the needs of the region and climate adaptation challenges faced. Some examples of EDA activities include a credit mechanism to implement identified adaptation measures in local communities, a revolving fund to support a risk analysis for a pre-project climate information gathering and assessment, small grant schemes with calls for local proposals under a set of predefined criteria, validating adaptation practices to reduce the cost of insurance for vulnerable communities, unsecured low-interest loans for vulnerable households and businesses to build resilient structures. The benefits of EDA are threefold. First, globally, by closing the gap in climate finance through a flow of funds directly to the most vulnerable communities, by enhancing subnational ownership of climate finance and adaptation planning and implementation, and strengthening of in-country capacity, allowing projects to be aligned with the needs of local communities while still receiving support from the international community. Secondly, to the NIE, by raising the profile of the NIE internationally and in-country, increasing efficiency in the management of donor funds, and fine-tuning policies, procedures, and standards. Thirdly, to the project, by increased country ownership which strengthens locally led climate action, creating greater stakeholder engagement and buy-in, and stimulating innovation through the establishment of national or local mechanisms. The largest benefit goes to the local communities who gain access to funds, own their own adaptation actions, and build their resilience to climate change. The Fund de Cooperación in Costa Rica found that EDA had long-term benefits, as once people get involved and take agency for their adaptation actions through EDA, they are self-motivated to continue. Fund de Cooperación noticed that most vulnerable communities can be the hardest to reach and engage. They used 3 practical solutions to this challenge. They found local executing entities to support, or invited in executing entities to the region, or scaled up existing projects to include the new locality. Costa Rica's experience is that it can take more effort to start an EDA project, but the benefits are hugely worthwhile for the local communities. Section 2. Support to develop an EDA proposal. How to apply for an EDA grant. First, download the application form. Details can be found in the next slides. Second, complete the form and attach a letter of endorsement by the designated authority. Third, send your application to the Adaptation Fund. Proposals may be submitted using the one-step process, submission of a fully developed proposal, or two-step process, submission of a concept for endorsement by the Adaptation Fund, followed by submission of a fully developed proposal. Projects will be considered on a rolling basis. The EDA proposal template is accessed on the Adaptation Fund's website. In the top navigation bar, select Apply for Funding. Select Enhanced Direct Access EDA Projects from the drop-down list. Alternatively, use the side panel on the home page to select Enhanced Direct Access EDA Projects. The full information regarding EDA projects is now displayed. Scroll to the end of the EDA Projects page. Under the heading Attachments, you will find the template for an EDA project proposal, instructions for preparing an EDA request, and a template for the letter of endorsement of the designated authority. Download the attachments to prepare to complete an EDA proposal. Information in both this training and the following video on EDA proposals will guide you through everything you need for a strong proposal. Additional resources can be found with the following links to the Project Proposal Instruction Manual, guidance on use of unspecified subprojects, which are very common in EDA projects, and a blueprint for EDA from SANBI in South Africa. Highlight: SANBI were one of the AF pioneers for EDA through an existing large project. 12 small grants were dispersed through SANBI to local vulnerable communities supporting agriculture, livelihoods, and settlements. They developed their EDA project through a series of steps. They carried out extensive local stakeholder engagement to support the identification of the most vulnerable regions. Local vulnerability assessments were then carried out to target even more specifically within these regions. Finally, they developed a set of eligibility criteria to enable local actors within the identified regions to apply for funds. A top tip when approaching EDA for the first time is to communicate with the Adaptation Fund and the Community of Practice, the CPDAE, to ask questions and gather shared experiences. Let's review the knowledge from this training. EDA allows NIEs to devolve funds directly to local communities and stakeholders. It is a modality to disperse climate finance to those who are most vulnerable. EDA does not have a singular format and should be created as a project with local stakeholder engagement from the start. Take a moment to consider these 3 questions. Is EDA part of LLA? Yes, EDA is a finance modality of LLA. Can EDA have different formats? Yes, some examples given of EDA are credits, grants, and unsecured loans. The mechanism should be developed in collaboration with the local communities and stakeholders. Can EDA be developed without community involvement? No, it's vital to engage with communities and stakeholders from the beginning of project formation. Top tips to support your EDA development are: time. Funding can take time. Stay engaged with communities to reduce risk. Dilution reduction. Keep the NIE and the local EDA recipients as close as possible to reduce fund dilution through intermediary bodies. Criteria. Set clear criteria for how you will and will not use the EDA funds. Thank you for completing the EDA training. Now go to the next video to find out about the EDA proposal template in detail and hear a case study from Rwanda, who were one of the first recipients of an EDA grant from the Adaptation Fund. The end.